Tell a friend that you forgive them and see how it makes you feel. Most importantly, see how much energy it frees up in your life that becomes a more positive flow and brings more positive things and people into your life. Hey everybody, this is Gregory Paul Kotsaftis of the Pitching the Truth podcast. Please sit back, relax, and enjoy today's episode. And as always, thank you so much for listening. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Pitching the Truth podcast. It's bright and early here in Colorado, and just got up, had my cup of coffee, took a little bit of my alpha brain, which I love to take because it helps you just think clearer and speak clearer and be a little bit more energized. So today I want to talk about forgiveness. I want to talk about the power of forgiveness and how you need to forgive everybody that's ever done anything wrong to you, and how it has affected me in my life, both on the receiving end of forgiveness and also on the inability to sometimes forgive and let people off the hook for things that they've done to me. So let's start with the first obvious one, right? I heard a lot of people in my past. I've done some bad things, and definitely I'm not proud of. And it's been very difficult for me to realize that some people will never forgive me. They will never be able to get over it. They'll always be upset with me, with my actions. And it's just one of those things I'll never be able to get rid of. So in the beginning, it really ate at me, especially with some specific family members that I thought should give me some forgiveness because my crimes never really affected them. It never was really directly related to them. But somehow they jumped on the bandwagon and decided that because I had been such a bad person, therefore I should never be forgiven by anyone. And that was tough. I got to say, it was not easy. It was very difficult for me to sit back and try to understand why people that were not directly related to anything I'd done couldn't forgive me. And it really bothered me for a long, long time. But after a while, I realized, after years of reading and studying and growing as a person, that I can't change these people, right? I can't do anything to change the way they think of me. I can't convince them to do anything, and nor should I want to. I need to be able to understand that even if I ask for forgiveness or I apologize, or if I reach out and say, hey, I'm really sorry, is there anything I can do to help you, or anything positive I can do to try to make up for it, that they just may be like, hey, you know what? Fuck off. Piss off, man. I don't care. I don't want to do it. And I've experienced a lot of that, specifically with a recent friend I'd reached out to that I had known for quite a few years. We trained together, and he's a really good guy. And he got wrapped up in my problem a little bit. In the end, when it all happened, he said, hey, man, don't worry about it. I understand. But I reached out to him recently, and he, knowing full well that the chances of him being receptive to me were pretty slim, and that was okay. So I reached out to him and sent him a text message and said, hey, it's Greg. I just want to tell you I'm sorry for, causing you any stress or aggravation in your life. I certainly didn't mean to, and this and that. It took him about a week, and he responded. I know you're all thinking like, oh, he forgave him and everything was great. No, that's not what he did. He texted me back and he said, listen, man, I don't know what to say. I feel like you played me. And I am all about second chances and forgiveness. But essentially now's not the time, maybe I'll see you around. So a little bit of a punch in the gut, right? The good news was I was prepared for it. I kind of knew it was going to come. And at the same time, I realized it's not my choice to dictate how he responds to my message. I threw it out there just to see what was going to happen. But he responded to me and told me how he felt, which I felt was a gift, right? Because for him to say to me, he felt like he was played, definitely hurt. Still does hurt. Hurts a little bit. But at the same time, I realized that, you need to feel that pain. I certainly need to feel it. I think all of us need to feel it, just so you can understand where people are coming from. It was a little bit more in depth of an answer than I expected. And it made me quickly realize, like, well, did you play this guy? Because even though he wasn't really directly affected by what you did, he was your friend. He was your friend, and he had no idea what a fuck up you were. He had no idea how badly you had hurt other people. And when that all came out, and other people, right, said, oh, you know him, what happened? Or they look at him like, I can't believe you spent time with that guy. And I'm talking about myself, right? And it makes him feel like a total clown because he was in the dark. I'm out there acting like everything was great and everything wasn't. And he had to deal with the repercussions of that afterwards. So did I ask him to forgive me? No. I just reached out hoping that he would be receptive to me. But at the end of the day, I took a lesson from it. I learned something from it. And if I hadn't made the effort to try to reach out to him, I never would have had that experience, right? I never would have had that chance to really sit back and realize that the damage goes deep, man. Like there's a lot of things that you don't think about that happen to other people when you make mistakes. And that's okay. It's not okay what happened, but it's okay if they don't want to forgive you for it, because at the end of the day, that's their choice. So I can sit here all high and mighty and talk about how I feel I should be more forgiven for my mistakes, but at the end of the day, that's not how it works. People may or may not forgive you, and that's okay. You want to reach out and just kind of say, hey, man, I made a mistake, with the understanding that you may or may not get a positive response. That's great. And I think a lot of people out there do that. They reach out, and then when they don't get the answer that they want, they get even more angry, right? They get pissed off, and they're like, I can't believe that person won't talk to me or won't forgive me. And they don't realize that it's not about them. It's really about the other person. And you are the better person for even offering or apologizing and rising up and facing that. Because I could have just not called this guy. I could have not responded to him. I got a little bit of a nudge from a good friend of mine to try it out. I have to say that I'm glad, because I always want to be reminded of the lesson, right? I wanted to be reminded of the lesson of how people were affected by my actions. And I want to make sure that I'm looking forward to not do that again. And I want to grow as a person and become a better person. So flip this on to the other side, right? Because there's plenty of people that have wronged me, right? I could go down the list. So let's start out with the most obvious one to me would be my ex-wife. You know, she was definitely a distraction is the word I would use when things were getting bad. She was not a supportive partner. She was somebody who was pushing in the opposite direction to try to get me to continue to provide a lifestyle that I knew I couldn't provide. She did not jump on to defend me or help me. She quickly just kind of pushed me away. And because I wouldn't conform to what she wanted me to do. Now, after everything happened, she was mildly supportive, but really not, because there was a lot of other random things that happened financially that I was very frustrated with that never materialized for me. I was never supported after I got out. And she did take care of my kids, so there's a positive. But there was a lot of bad blood there, at least on my side, okay? A lot of angst, a lot of anger. People look at me now that know the situation, and they're still kind of surprised that I have been so kind, or not even been just, you know, I just kind of keep my distance, arm's length is how I like to say it. But at the same time, I have no ill will. I'm not going to go around being like, oh, I can't believe she did this to me. She's such a bad person. I quickly realized when I got those feelings in my gut that I had to let it go. I immediately had to forgive her and wish her well and see her from a place of love, which I do. Because at the end of the day, we're all screwed up. We all make mistakes. I have, right? So who am I to judge her? Who am I to hold on to this anger and this frustration that she wronged me and she hurt me, and I should be the one to somehow be better than her? Okay, that's not the way it works. So once I started doing that, her actions and her behavior didn't change. But in my mind, all of a sudden I was at peace. I was at peace because I wasn't worried about it anymore. I wasn't sitting there fixated on the fact that somebody had done something to me. I realized that I was in control of one thing, my own thoughts. I was in control of what I wanted to do with my time, and that she could no longer affect me. Her crazy actions or crazy behavior or lies or whatever that happened were not part of my deal. That's the point of forgiving other people. It feels good. It feels good in a sense that you are taking control of your life. All the random chatter that's in your mind that's consuming you, that's making you angry, that's making you lash out at your family or your friends, making you lose sleep, making you want revenge. All of that goes away once you forgive somebody else for what they've done, because they no longer have the power over your mind. Think about that. That's just one example in my life. Now, I've had a guy friend, same situation, kind of lying to me, not really telling the truth, kind of shady, kind of kind of shifty. And, recently I bumped into him at church last weekend. And he keeps talking to me like, hey, man, we should get together. We should have lunch. And, there's some ill will there. Like, I'm kind of annoyed by some of his actions of what he's done to me. But at the same time, I quickly realized, and for some reason, this person was in my head a lot. He was rattling around in there. Like, his thoughts of him would pop up often. And I think that probably because he was thinking about me because he knows what he did. But regardless, I quickly realized that, okay, why is this person in here? Like, why are you thinking about him all the time? Why are you obsessing about what he did to you? That self-talk in your mind is not serving you at all. So I specifically started to write in my journal, just forgiving him for his actions, understanding that he's on his own path doing what he's doing. And while it may have affected you a little bit, it wasn't horrible. And at the same time, there's no reason to put any energy behind it. So when I saw him, I was nice to him and kind, but again, arm's length, because really can't be a good friend with a guy like that. But at the same time, you have to forgive him and let him go. So I want all of you to think about this. And I know everybody in their life has this problem, because I heard a lot of this kind of chatter growing up as a kid, where people would be angry with each other. Somebody would do something, and forgiveness in Boston, at least in my childhood, was non-existent. Okay, people they wanted to jump on the bandwagon and just hammer you to the ground, beat you down until you were done. That's the mentality, okay? So you have somebody out there in your world. I know you do. You have a friend, a family member, an ex-boyfriend, an ex-girlfriend, an ex-wife, an ex-husband, someone who has wronged you, somebody who has done something to you that you're holding on to that resentment towards. And I'm telling you, you have to forgive them. You have to. You can even forgive them to your face if you want to be super powerful about it, and see how it feels when you're the one that walks up and says to them, hey man, how are you? I want you to know I forgive you for what happened. Doesn't mean you have to be their friend. Doesn't mean you have to be their best buddy. Doesn't mean you have to hang out with them or even talk to them again. But even if you do it in your mind and you start thinking to yourself and realizing that I don't have to hold on to this anymore, I don't want to think about this anymore, and I wish these people nothing but good things, nothing but love, nothing but success. Once you do that, a power comes over you that lifts you up and just makes you feel relieved. I have felt this multiple times. Relieved, just happy. Because honestly, I want people to be happy. I want everybody to be happy. Why would I ever want anybody to be hurt? And why would I spend all my energy trying to put somebody else down or make them feel bad or hope that something bad something went wrong with them because of what they did to me, right? Anyway, forgive and forget. Find somebody. You know who they are. You remember who they are. Reach out to them. Write it down on a piece of paper. Say it to yourself. Tell a friend that you forgive them. Do whatever you have to do and see how it makes you feel. Most importantly, see how much energy it frees up in your life that becomes a more positive flow and brings more positive things and people into your life. That's it for this week. Thank you so much for listening. I greatly appreciate it. And I hope that you can go out and forgive somebody today. And I'll talk to you soon.